As the sun peaked over the horizon, painting the skies with hues of orange and gold, it was the dawn of the 20th century. A new era was beginning. Europe stood tall and proud, seemingly at the very height of its power and influence. Its grand capitals exuded confidence and wealth. Its empires, vast and sprawling, spanned the globe, reaching into every corner of the known world. European powers controlled territories and resources across continents. European cities buzzed with the excitement of new inventions and technological advancements. The streets were alive with a mix of horse-drawn carriages and the first automobiles. Amidst this progress, many Europeans believed they were living in an age of endless progress and prosperity, a time of unprecedented opportunity. This era, often remembered as the Belle Époque, seemed golden and idyllic on the surface, a time of beauty and refinement. But beneath the glitter and glamour, Europe was restless, simmering with underlying tensions and anxieties. Nationalism was rising rapidly, fueling a sense of intense pride and at times dangerous rivalry. This growing nationalism was making nations fiercely competitive and deeply suspicious of one another's intentions. Instead of cooperation and mutual understanding, the great powers were locked in a relentless struggle for dominance, fueling a tense and dangerous rivalry that threatened to erupt at any moment. While the elite enjoyed unimaginable luxury and privilege, indulging in lavish lifestyles, millions labored in harsh and unforgiving conditions, toiling in factories and mines for meager wages. Simultaneously, new and radical ideas about democracy, equality, and social justice were spreading fast, challenging the established order. The empires, though seemingly mighty and unshakable, faced growing internal pressures and discontent. Cracks were forming in their very foundations. The continent was a stage meticulously set for a devastating conflict, a powder keg waiting for a spark. Each nation was carefully watching its neighbors, constantly assessing threats, and diligently preparing for a potential war. Armies grew larger and more powerful, alliances formed and solidified, and many believed that a great war was not just possible, but inevitable, a necessary evil to settle old scores and redraw the map of Europe. Yet, despite the growing sense of unease, no one could truly imagine the sheer scale and horror of the catastrophe that lay ahead. The coming conflict would shatter empires into pieces, devastate an entire generation of young men, and fundamentally change the world forever. Europe was teetering precariously on the brink of utter disaster, unaware of the abyss that awaited. In the early 20th century, 6 great powers dominated the European continent, each wielding immense influence and shaping the course of history. These empires, with their intricate alliances and deep-seated rivalries, held the fate of Europe in their hands. Great Britain, the undisputed ruler of the seas, boasted the largest empire the world had ever seen. Its vast colonial holdings spanned the globe, and its wealth was built on a foundation of thriving trade and burgeoning industry. London was the financial heart of the world, and the Royal Navy ensured its dominance. France, a nation steeped in history and brimming with ambition, constantly sought to regain lost honor and reclaim territories lost after its humiliating defeat by Germany in 1871. The desire for revenge fueled its military buildup and shaped its foreign policy. Germany, a newly unified nation, was rapidly industrializing and flexing its military might. Under the ambitious leadership of Kaiser Wilhelm II, Germany aimed to rival Great Britain and France, disrupting the established balance of power and causing widespread unease among its neighbors. Russia, a vast and populous empire ruled by Tsar Nicholas II, possessed the world's largest army. However, it lagged behind in industrial development and was plagued by internal social and political unrest, making it a volatile and unpredictable force. Austria-Hungary, a sprawling empire comprised of a patchwork of diverse nationalities, faced the daunting challenge of maintaining unity in the face of rising nationalism. The aging Emperor Franz Joseph struggled to keep his empire from fracturing along ethnic lines. Italy, the weakest of the 6 great powers, harbored ambitions of its own. It sought to assert itself on the world stage and claim a place among the dominant nations, often through opportunistic alliances and territorial aspirations. Each of these empires grappled with its own unique set of challenges, from internal divisions and economic competition to the ever-present threat posed by their rivals. Their intertwined ambitions and deep-seated insecurities fueled a dangerous atmosphere of rivalry and mistrust. The delicate balance of power in Europe was incredibly fragile. and every diplomatic maneuver, every military buildup was watched with intense suspicion and interpreted as a potential threat. These seemingly invincible empires were in reality like giants with feet of clay, possessing immense power and influence, yet simultaneously vulnerable to internal weaknesses and external pressures. Their relentless competition and escalating tensions would soon plunge the entire continent into a devastating conflict, the likes of which the world had never seen. The stage was irrevocably set for a war on an unprecedented scale, a war that would reshape the map of Europe and the course of history. The great powers of Europe were locked in a complex web of alliances and rivalries, competing fiercely on every front, from economics to military might. This constant competition created a climate of tension and mistrust. Military strength was not just a source of national pride, but also a crucial tool for intimidation and projecting power on the global stage. Each nation sought to outdo the others in terms of military capabilities. Nations poured vast resources into expanding their armies and navies, each seeking a decisive edge in the event of a conflict. This arms race fueled further anxieties and instability across the continent. Industrial might became just as crucial as military strength. Factories churned out weapons and supplies, steel provided the backbone for infrastructure, and railways enabled rapid mobilization. This industrial capacity fueled both national economies and their respective militaries, creating a powerful feedback loop of growth and militarization. Germany's rapid industrial growth, in particular, alarmed Britain, intensifying the existing rivalry between these two major powers. The scramble for colonies in Africa and Asia further added to the tension, as European powers sought to expand their empires and control valuable resources. Empires raced to claim land and resources, often disregarding the rights and interests of the local populations. Nationalism stoked the fire of competition, teaching people to see their own nation as inherently superior and to view other nations with suspicion and as potential threats. Pan-Germanism and Pan-Slavism inspired dreams of uniting peoples under common banners, but also deepened existing divisions and created new points of conflict. These powerful forces, military, economic, imperial, and ideological, made compromise increasingly difficult, if not nearly impossible. Europe became a continent of armed rivals, each convinced of its own historical destiny and national interests. The escalating competition was relentlessly pushing Europe ever closer to the brink of a catastrophic war. As suspicion grew, Europe plunged into an arms race. Each nation expanded its military, fearing to fall behind. The naval rivalry between Britain and Germany was especially fierce, with both building ever more powerful battleships. On land, France, Germany, and Russia built massive armies through conscription. War plans grew more detailed and rigid, making rapid mobilization a priority. Military leaders gained influence, and society glorified war and soldiers. Newspapers celebrated military might, feeding public anxiety and pride. The continent became an armed camp, bristling with new weapons and millions of soldiers. Far from making Europe safer, this buildup made war seem inevitable. The stage was set for a conflict of unprecedented scale and destruction. To guard against threats, Europe's powers formed alliances. The Triple Alliance, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, stood at the continent's center. In response, France and Russia allied, later joined by Britain in the Triple Entente. These alliances were meant to deter war, but instead created two hostile camps. A crisis involving one power could now draw in all the others. The system was rigid. Obligations and war plans left little room for diplomacy. A local dispute could quickly spiral into a continent-wide conflict. The Balkans, a region of nationalist tensions, became a flashpoint. The alliances made Europe a tinderbox, ready to ignite at the slightest spark. The balance of power was now a delicate, dangerous game. The world was closer to war than most realized. By 1914, Europe was a paradox, powerful, proud, and dangerously unstable. Decades of peace had bred complacency, but beneath the surface, tensions simmered. Nationalism, imperial rivalry, and the arms race had created an atmosphere of fear and mistrust. The alliance system divided the continent into two armed camps. Diplomacy faltered as military timetables and national pride took precedence. New industrial weapons promised unprecedented destruction, but few grasped what was coming. All it would take was a single spark to unleash catastrophe. The great powers, blinded by pride and rivalry, stumbled toward disaster. In the summer of 1914, that spark would ignite, plunging Europe into the Great War. The world was about to change forever.